What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. So today I wanted to talk a bit about a Pokemon that's recently been surging in popularity over in Japan. And if you've seen the thumbnail and title, you already know, but that Pokemon is Tropius. So Tropius, a Pokemon that would largely be considered just a complete meme. It's got no viability whatsoever. But Tropius is actually seeing success over in Japan. So I want to talk about in this video what it is that makes Tropius so good, why it's being used, and do I think Tropius is going to have success moving forward, or is it a bit of a meme that has had success, but maybe it's not the type of success that is going to continue? Well, we're going to cover all that, so let's go ahead and get started. First, I want to talk about a Japanese player who recently hit rank 1 with Tropius and their team. And this player is the runner-up in the 2020 Japan National Championship. So this is one of the top players over in Japan. And he actually hit rank 1 multiple times with Tropius, this being the most recent. But the team he used to do it was a pretty standard-looking team, right? You've got your Mouse Hold, your Annihilate, pretty standard stuff here with Beat Up and Rage Fist. You've got your support with Amoonguss, and then you got Volcarona and Baxcalibur for some, solid additional damage. It's really Tropius here that draws all your attention and makes you wonder, well, what the heck does this Pokemon do? Because let's be honest, none of us have much experience, if any, facing against Tropius because nobody uses this Pokemon. So what is it that is making Tropius so good? Well, before we get into that, I wanted to talk about some other team archetypes that have actually had success using Tropius. So this isn't the only rank 1 team that has achieved that rank with Tropius. So another team archetype that is really common in Japan that has been having some Tropius experimentation are the Dondozo Tatsugiri teams. So the thing is, Tropius can help facilitate that by setting up a Leech Seed and then going into your Dondozo combination, and there's some additional healing provided your opponent doesn't switch out. But if they do, well, that's just an extra couple of free turns for Dondozo. So Tropius has seen some usage on those Dondozo teams as well. But let's pull up the Pikalytics page and talk a bit about what it is that is making Tropius used and have success. So let's start out by talking about the obvious here. Tropius has almost no usage on Pokemon Showdown. So I think this is like 0.04% or something crazy, which is almost nothing. And it's the 155th most common Pokemon on Showdown. So I don't know how many fully evolved Pokemon there are in Scarlet and Violet, but this cannot be very good. There can't be that many more fully evolved Pokemon that are used, less than Tropius. So kind of crazy that a Pokemon that is this unused is now rank 1. So it's always interesting to see that, and that's one of the great things about Pokemon is there's a lot of, underexplored Pokemon that have specific little niches that if you hyper focus on, you can make that Pokemon viable in the right situation and on the right teams. And it's always, really interesting to see innovative players try and make what most of us would consider memes, try and make them actually work. Now, is Tropius the type of Pokemon, and, some of these other obscure Pokemon, are they the types where, you might win worlds or win international championships or, do really well at those tournaments with? Probably not. But these types of Pokemon can become good enough to have success on the ranked ladder, which for a lot of players, being able to use Pokemon that you like, use your favorites, even if nobody else is using them, if you're able to have some success with them, do decently well at a tournament, maybe like a regional or international championship, do decently well with it, not just go, 0-8 or whatever. And if you're able to have success on the ranked ladder with it, for a lot of players, that's enough. And achieving ranked 1, that's quite an achievement, honestly, because there's a lot of really good Japanese players vying for that top spot. So being able to do it with a Pokemon like Tropius, always inspirational and always very, very cool to see. So let's dive into what it is that is making Tropius good. All right, so stats, let's be honest, attack is abysmal, special attack abysmal. This Pokemon does no damage. Its speed is very mediocre. But its HP, defense, and special defense are quite solid. So, 99 base HP combined with 83 defense and 87 special defense, especially considering that you're going to EV train Tropius entirely in HP and defenses, that makes it quite bulky. So Tropius, its stat distribution, while not amazing, it's also, considering what its niche is and what it's trying to accomplish, it's not the worst stat distribution. So it's not completely killing it, which for some Pokemon, their stats do completely kill, but Tropius, not one of those Pokemon. So let's talk next about the moves. Now, okay, nobody's using this on Showdown, so Fly, for whatever reason, is the fourth most common move here. I can guarantee you guys that the top Japanese players are not running Fly Tropius. They are running Leech Seed, of course, the most used move on Showdown. Leech Seed is one of the things that makes Tropius really unique. So I'll mention this a lot probably in this video, but Tropius is very similar to Garganacl, which I made a video on if you guys haven't seen already, so definitely check that out if you are interested. But Tropius is very similar to Garganacl. So it's going to be very bulky, very stally, very tough to actually take down, in large part thanks to Leech Seed, but additionally, the Citrus Berry and Harvest combination, as well as Protect, make Tropius very difficult to actually take down. But Leech Seed allows Tropius to do percentage-based damage over time. So very similar to Garganacl, where the thing that makes Garganacl so good is the fact that it has Salt Cure. So not only is it just stalling and supporting the team with Wide Guard, it's also able to dish out some very significant damage over time that is based off your opponent's max HP. So your attacking stats completely irrelevant. So Leech Seed very similar in that kind of way. So moving on, Protect also extremely common. And the thing, very much like Garganacl, that is making Tropius so good is Wide Guard. So it's another one of the very limited pool of Pokemon that are actually able to learn Wide Guard. And I talked about this in the Garganacl video, but I've also talked about this in other videos as well. Spread moves in the official competitive Pokemon format are really, really strong. So having access to Wide Guard to not only protect Tropius, but also protect your ally is really, really beneficial. So any Pokemon that has the ability to learn Wide Guard, if it's able to fit it onto its move pool and it has the stats to really, take advantage of being a more defensive and supportive option, then Wide Guard is a really, really good move to have. So as for the last move, right, you got Leech Seed, Protect, Wide Guard. The last move, there's a few options, really up to personal preference. Air Slash is one of them. Being able to hit Pokemon like Amoonguss, which is immune to Leech Seed, can be very big. Also, move like U-Turn can be very beneficial because you can one-hit KO Meowscarada. And the ability to switch out with U-Turn is also, not totally irrelevant, because one of the things about Leech Seed, and this is one of the things that kind of separates Tropius from Garganacl, is the fact that Leech Seed, once you set it up on your opponent, you can actually switch Tropius out and get that healing from Leech Seed onto the Pokemon that switches in place of Tropius. So against, for example, opposing Dondozo teams, if you're able to get a Leech Seed off on Dondozo, which can't switch out, and then switch Tropius out into something that can wall Dondozo, like, whatever it is, Gastrodon, Skeledirge, your own Dondozo, whatever it is, then that can make, your Pokemon completely unkillable and just slowly whittle away at Dondozo's health. And, that's one of the benefits of Leech Seed over something like, Salt Cure, for example, is it has that little bit of extra utility where it can heal your allied Pokemon. As for items and abilities, I covered this already, but the Citrus Berry Harvest combination gives you really good recovery. You don't have recover like Garganacl does, so using your item and ability to achieve pretty much the same thing, especially combined with Protect, because that gives you additional rolls to try and get Harvest to activate, really makes Tropius tough to take down. So the thing is, right, I've talked about how Tropius is really similar to Garganacl, but it's also similar in past VGC years to Celesteela, right? Celesteela did a lot of the same things with Leech Seed, Wide Guard being real bulky, real supportive, really tough to take down. So Tropius, very similar to those two Pokemon in the way it plays. So I kind of talked about how Leech Seed separates it a little bit from Garganacl, but that's not the only thing, right? Tropius's typing, Grass Flying, in some instances can be better than Garganacl's pure Rock type, because there's a lot of ways to take advantage of those pure rock types, right? It's weak to grass, weak to steel, weak to fighting, weak to water, weak to ground. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can really nail Garganacl is super effective and deals some massive damage to it. The thing is, right, Garganacl does have Wide Guard, which some of these moves, like Earthquake from Garchomp or Make It Rain from Golden Go, you can just block with Wide Guard. But in some other cases, right, Tropius is Grass Flying type. Sometimes you don't really want to have to Terastallize to save your Pokemon. I think one of the things with Garganacl is because it has a lot of weaknesses, sometimes players tend to Terastallize it more often than maybe you'd like to, because it's really just a defensive Terra that is trying to accomplish just hope you can stall out the entire game and, win that way. So if you're running a team like this where maybe you want to Terastallize your Annihilate most games because that's more of your win condition, having a Pokemon with Tropius' typing, which sometimes is more beneficial on Terastallize as opposed to Garganacl, maybe that's more, viable for your specific team. And so that's why Tropius can kind of fill in on some teams. All right, so we talked about, what it is that is making Tropius good, the very small niche that it fills and, how it can kind of separate itself from Garganacl, but is Tropius going to be good moving forward, especially as we head into Series 2? Well, honestly, Tropius, despite this Rank 1 finish, this Rank 1 finish, as well as the other Japanese players who have had success with Tropius and also achieved Rank 1, kind of prove that Tropius is a very usable Pokemon, right? If you need to fill this kind of wide guard, stally, supportive role on a team, well, you've got Garganacl, you've got Tropius, so you've got two options. And Tropius, there's a few where the small niches can really make it a usable, if not preferred, option over Garganacl. The thing is, moving forward, is Tropius going to be a pick as we head into Series 2? Honestly, I don't know. I'd say that you'll see it occasionally, but I think Garganacl just is too consistent. It's got better stats. Salt Cure is just a really good move, and then its ability, Purifying Salt, is also really good. Harvest can be kind of unreliable at times. The recovery is not as good. The stats aren't as good. Even though there's a few things with Leech Seed here, as well as the typing that kind of separate it from Garganacl, I think overall Garganacl is the stronger Pokemon and going to see a lot more usage than Tropius. Does Tropius deserve to be used 0.4% moving forward? Definitely not, right? Tropius should skyrocket compared to this, 155th in usage. It should definitely be way higher than that because it is a very viable choice. As we've seen, right? It's enough to get rank 1. But is it going to be one of the top Pokemon moving into Series 2? Probably not, but it is the kind of Pokemon that's viable enough if you want to have some success, right? It's not a bad Pokemon. It's not unusable. It's very much viable. So if you're the type of person who wants to use Tropius, you can feel free knowing that, you're not using something that is inferior to something else. Tropius has its own niche that it fills, and, it's very good at that. So, again, props to all of the Japanese players who have explored using Pokemon like Tropius. And again, one of the lessons to take moving forward is you can make a lot of these, seemingly unviable Pokemon viable if you just find a specific niche for it to fill and then hyper-focus on that niche. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Let me know, what do you think about Tropius, especially as we move forward into Series 2? And do you think Tropius is, just a meme? Do you think there are other Pokemon that are not being used at all that can have the same kind of success that Tropius has seen recently? Let me know down in the comments what you think. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next video.